Welcome to another panel from the Regarding 365. We're looking at our favorite announcements from Microsoft Ignite November 2021. I'm joined by Ian Moran, Alistair Putin, and Phil Worrell. Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. All good.
Fantastic. It's gonna be a good session. Sorry, go ahead, Al.
No, I was wondering if Phil was going to say something because I can see there's some beard growth going on his face, and I don't think I've ever seen Phil with
No.
facial hair.
That's not anybody generally has ever seen that. But Christmas is coming, right? And I need a second job,
Oh, yeah.
obviously.
So that's 7 hours into the day with growth. We need to understand at what speed your beard grows. Are you one of those beard growers?
That's just 5 days.
Oh, 5. Okay, that's not too bad.
I swear it's probably that 6 o'clock shadow, and surely today was just a bit more stressful than yesterday.
I'd personally like to know where Phil got his T-shirt from, though.
I would like to say what does it say underneath it? Oh, there we go. More power. Okay.
I remember that. Well, hey, let's hear from Ian. Ian, tell us what was your main Ignite nugget that you were quite interested in.
So I actually went into Ignite wanting to hear more about this because we're talking about shared channels. We were talking earlier, I think shared channels were announced maybe at last year's Ignite. And I find that very intriguing because to me, it represents a huge, huge architectural change to Teams, but also from a user's point of view, a fantastic addition. If you remember, maybe a year and a half ago, private channels were introduced, and that was the biggest user voice request I think for Teams for a long time. I wasn't that excited about private channels, and I think I wasn't alone in that. As you know, a private channel can have members from a subset of that team to give that subset of the team a bit of privacy. Shared channels are a completely different ball game. They're going to look the same in that the channel will be presented in the user's single pane of glass team interface. But now we can invite not only users in the same tenant into that channel, but also teams from the same tenant into that channel, and more exciting, users and teams from external Active Directory, Azure Active Directory tenants. It's important to mention Azure Active Directory there because that was actually mentioned in the talk. I'm basing all of this obviously on a single. I have no experience in using the product because it's not out yet. I'm basing all of this on a great presentation from Aaron Das from the team's development team. He packs in a lot of information in 30 minutes. So what this gives us, and we've been asking for this for a long time, is the ability to collaborate with external user parties without tenant switching. So we're in our own Teams interface, and we don't get this jarring need to create a different profile in Edge and have a progressive web app to join that tenant. This will now allow me, for example, to create a single team in my tenant, and then add a shared channel that invites teams from my clients into those channels. And I have no tenant switching. I have a less complicated team setup because one team will support all this. One team can support up to 200 of these shared channels. And it's just going to make Teams deployment a lot easier. There's going to be less proliferation of teams and much greater collaboration capability between third parties, and I think that's fantastic. I wish we had got this actually before private channels. I was thinking long and hard today as well about, do we need private channels anymore when we get this? And I guess I can still see a use case for private channels alongside shared channels. So it's it's going to make the creation of a team a wee bit more. It's going to require a wee bit more thought when you go to create these channels. By default, when you create a shared channel, it's going to invite all users from that team into it. You can uncheck that, and it's the team owner who can create that channel. There's a lot of administration capability around this as well, and it's in the right places in terms of Teams policies. It uses, crucially, I think, business to business it's business to business connect.
B2B.
It's not using guest users. Guests are not invited into the directory. And you might then gather from this that one of the things that isn't supported out of the gate is going to be products that require that, like Planner. So the shared channels should appear in Q1 of Partly 2022 in preview, and will support in the channel pretty much everything. File collaboration, chat, meetings, both meet now and schedule meetings, the ability to collaborate on files, the ability to use most of the apps as tabs in that channel. So yeah, a fantastic addition to the product, I feel.
Awesome. Look, open that up for questions, guys. What do you think or know of shared channels?
Oh, I saw that session and I was really impressed by it. It looks like Microsoft have really done their homework on this particular case, because to me, private channels just seem like, oh, we've got to get something out there. We'll find a way of just making something private. But you were always, with private channels, you were always in this. It's members of your team entirely, plus a small private chat. Plus, behind the scenes, that was an additional SharePoint site, which didn't have at the time all the right governance and compliance pieces behind it, and e-discovery, etc. And things were missing from the admin center for SharePoint, so you couldn't see them. I think most of that's all been fixed now. But the chats were going into the individuals' mailboxes in those private channels. But from what I can see on the shared channels part, is they really thought about it, which is probably why a lot of the delays, because it is a complex thing for them to do.
Absolutely.
And the other thing in there for me is the external, how you set up that external B2B sharing is, I think by the looks of it, you have to do some sort of federation between you and the others. You have to have some agreement between you and the other tenants, the other customers that you're using, to set that up, to say, we agree to allow people to use this. But from the external thing aside slightly here, is that the internal use case of it makes it a lot better just in that point, in that you have individual departments and teams that want to cross collaborate without actually having to create that additional team. And I think that is really the big bonus that people are going to get out of it to start off with.
It's interesting. Sorry, it's also interesting to note that it's off by default when it ships. Most of these things are on by default, so the business-to-business direct connect is actually off in the Azure tenant and has to be turned on to allow all of this to work. So I think that's a good stance to take.
I think on that internal use of shared channels, I see a good scenario where it's a bit like it follows that news strategy, where some organizations have a central news site and everything's authored from there. That if you're going to use an all-org strategy to get news out, imagine having a central team where it's just made up of shared channels, and a team for a business unit or functional unit could just grab that channel, put it in their own team, and then that's their source of news and updates from the org without having to go actually visit that team.
Yeah. There's a nice addition. There's a nice addition as well to the SharePoint Admin Center. Nice wee nugget picked up in that they've enhanced that to show all channel sites associated with a team by a drill down, which is brilliant, because being an old-time SharePoint user, I lay awake at night worrying about all the privileged site collections. But now we can see all the channel sites associated with the team. So that's a nice addition they've done as well.
But you have millions of site collections, Ian.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I don't lose sleep.
Hey, so let's move to Al. Al, what was the thing that sort of stood out to you at Ignite?
Well, outside of Ian's shared channels, where you no longer have to worry about tenant switching, right? Which is for me the best part about shared channels. Outside of everything that you guys have been talking about, I think that if every team that I've been invited to could magically become a shared channel, and I'd have a single pane of glass to access all the communication platforms. I mean, I've got a list of about 13, 14 tenants that I have to log in, log out, or a progressive web app snapped through Edge and have 12 Teams icons on my Windows rail. On my side, more around knowledge and content services. I've been spending quite a lot of time talking about legacy enterprise content management migrations, moving off the old content servers and documentums and